Ladies and gentlemen,
Kia ora koutou whānau. Welcome back to Big Hearing News. Hey Chewie, what's up?
Hi, I'm not going to do a song. I can't compete with that at all.
Aww.
No. I was gonna, but it's not as good. So I'll just shelve it.
It's one of those improv things where one person does things and then you sing along and then I sing. No, okay.
No, we're not. I'm all shy and embarrassed now. I'm a very, very shy creature. Very introverted.
Very sad. How was your day?
Not bad. As I said, working because retail life. But yeah, nice day down here in Dunedin. Saw a lot of people that were obviously enjoying the Waitangi celebrations in the Octagon and having a good time. People driving through town with flags on their vehicles and stuff like that. It was good to see.
Nice. We like to see it. That's exciting. I did things. What did I do? I did many things. I had to drop off some things. We played board games. That's what I did. Just completely forgot the afternoon. We played board games. It was good. We played a game with animals, and you have to make a grid, and you get points based on how many animals you get in their position on the board. Can't tell you what it was called, but it was fun. That was my Waitangi day.
I'd be interested to hear in the chat if anybody got out to any Waitangi celebrations. I'm looking at Blue Sky here. Someone I follow went to the Queenstown one, took a series of amazing looking photos. Obviously, the celebrations of Waitangi itself looked awesome. I saw the little I don't know if you've seen it, the RNZ piece of all the kids jumping off the bridge there. And like a very serious Radio New Zealand interviewer just asking some scucks ass kid how to do the best manu, and I'm like, yes, this is the journalism that I want. I don't want to hear about Seymour. I want to hear about the far north's 8-year-old manu king. That's what I want.
Yeah, that's what we want on Waitangi Day. I've got a few pictures from Tipet in Waitangi. He's put up the interview with John Campbell, and we've got a few BHN friendlies. We might notice a few of those people in the chat, perhaps. We've got Haimana Hirini, which we had Pat had an interview with, so we're going to check that out. Nice. And then, of course, there's the Tinoranga Tiratanga pug on the back of the boat.
Did he get to interview the pug?
No, I don't think he did. We should have asked him to.
Wasted trip.
I know.
The whole trip's just
And the other one we've got to show tonight, which we didn't show last night, was Chloe.
Oh yes, cool.
Disappeared. One of us disappeared.
I am still here.
It's me, I think. I'm gonna have to disappear 2 seconds and get this fixed. So do you want to have a quick chat with the chat?
Yes, I am going to say, like, this hasn't been covered particularly well by the lamestream media. So I'm going to start with this little story. Yeah, I think this should be bigger news than it is, obviously, this week especially. David Seymour
yeah.
has got engaged. Why is this earth-shaking news, New Zealand? This sort of frippery. Apparently, she is a powerful businesswoman with a big heart. So there we go. That's the person that's decided to lock down eligible bachelor David Seymour. Why is this important, New Zealand? Well,
because it's a cover-up. It's a cover story. It's a cover story, and it's a puff piece.
Oh, you reckon? You reckon?
Yeah.
You reckon? Or is it, in fact, this is so well planned that's why it's going so smoothly, by the way, because it draws into stark focus. Is David Seymour a man of his word?
That's right. I did see it in the article.
He's found love now. He's got to get out of the game. That's what he was promised. Because he was apparently only in politics for the cup. So he's locked that down now. He can fuck off and enjoy the rest of his life.
No.
That's the final offer, David. Final offer.
No, I'm going to make sure he goes down. Well, me not personally, but
you're going to clip that. Clip it.
No.
Emily is going to make sure that David Seymour goes down. The show's done. You're never going to get control back.
That sentence.
You're never going to get control back.
No, not me personally. I'm just going to make sure he gets held accountable. I'm going to be one of the many people that is making sure he gets held accountable for the bullshit that he continues to do.
I mean, just to
which will be
back,
the end.
Just to link it back, like I said, you're not going to get control back now that you've said that you're going to make sure that David goes down. One of the big problems in the lead up.
I'm sure I'm one of hundreds of people that are thinking that.
David Seymour's number 2, Brooke Van Velden, pointed out pre-election in one of the debates that one of the things that really concerned young New Zealanders was getting head. So there's that.
Sorry, what?
Did you not catch that when she was in the she was in a debate pre-election? I think it was the youth leaders debate or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And she really meant to say young New Zealanders are concerned about getting ahead.
But she missed the A.
I'll find clips of it of her going, young New Zealanders are concerned about getting ahead. She immediately realized what she said and never recovered. It was so good.
That's
and
what we want to see.
Me of there, Emily. So well done there.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm missing like all of my things. I was going to put something on the screen and I can't see it. What's going on?
While you're doing that,
what's going on?
From Facebook, obviously an absolute hive of perverts. Rochelle Latimer is here, says that she'd love 5 minutes alone with David Seymour and a fist emoji. This is getting well out of hand. You can't do that now. He's engaged. He's betrothed. You can't fist David.
He's a good man. He's a good man because of that, right?
Well, let's not get out of control there. He's a bad person. A lot of people would say the worst person. A lot of people.
It's true. They most certainly would say that. This is really annoying. I wanted to show my screen, but now I'm going to have to show you my screen, and then I'm going to have to pull it down and then show you my screen again. So, bear with me. So good at that. So our first story tonight is a bit of an interview with someone that Pat met at Waitangi. One of the what do I say? One of the peoples who may have had something to do with he calls it the enhancement of the Treaty of Waitangi, the English
very
version.
much improved.
That was up at Te Papa. And it was done December 2023, and it actually was up there till April 2024 last year. My favorite thing about it is they did not take it down.
I think they did eventually.
They did eventually, but they said that they weren't. Where is it? In this article somewhere, it was all set up and now it's gone. That they did not feel the need to take it down because it was an important part of its history. In the conversation around Te Tiriti. So, they left it up till between December and April. It's good on them.
Yeah. I agree. That was the smartest way to handle it. Just a little bit of context for those people that don't recall this incident. There was an advisory council that had been persisting for 2 or 3 years for Te Papa to improve this exhibition and provide more context, and that they had a real issue with the fact that they described the English part of it as a direct translation. So after going, are we going to change this? Are we going to change this? This is what we're telling you we need to do. You've asked us to advise. We're advising you. Is it happening? Are we doing it? They did it themselves. And I think Te Papa took that on the chin and realized that that is a perfect illustration of the feeling around the treaty and the difference between the treaty and Te Tiriti. And in my opinion, I think that single action did more to illustrate their point than any other thing that they could have done. And I think it injected into the discussion more understanding that the two versions are not the same. And that is the core part of why we have the issues that we have. And there is more people talking about, like, did you ever hear, I certainly didn't before this, that there is a standard definition internationally from the UN that if there are 2 versions of a treaty, then it's the one in the indigenous language that must have precedence. I didn't know that until this kicked off. So I think this is a perfect example of political protest, political vandalism for an educational point of view. It's part of the story now. It's part of that exhibition. And I hope Te Papa do learn and incorporate what has happened into whatever they put up in its place.
I say kudos to them for keeping it up. I think that says a lot about their integrity and how it's, But anyways, I won't talk about it anymore because one of the people himself are going to have a chat about it and give a bit more context to what's going on and give their experience at what's happening at Waitangi. I can't find my mouse.
I like the hoodie. Why did you take the hoodie off?
Oh, because it's hot, bro.
Okay, fair enough. BHN hoodie. Haimana for the BHN crew is one of the guys who defaced the treaty at Te Papa. Is that the way you say it?
We don't say that.
Okay, what do we say?
We say we enhanced it.
Enhanced it.
Yeah.
Do you know what's cool? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
They kept it as a part of the treaty story now, eh?
Yes. Yeah, well, it is cool, but they took a long time to get around to it.
Yeah.
And it's only because we forced them to.
Yeah.
You know, this is on the back of Matua Moana Jackson telling them right from the start, you know, look, that's not how it goes. That's not the story.
Yeah.
That's misleading.
So take a step back.
Yeah.
It's not old news, but just for people who haven't seen it, what did you do and why?
Oh, we went into Te Papa and we enhanced the English treaty
with grinders.
With
spinning
grinders
blades.
and you know, spray paint.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
why?
And because what we need the government to do is tell the truth.
Yeah.
We are a climate group,
Yeah.
believe it or not.
Yeah.
But if we can't even talk truthfully about the origins of our country, how are we ever going to get to the crisis that's facing us?
Yeah.
You know, so we went, and we also acknowledged that social justice, the social injustice,
Yeah.
that was how we've gotten into this position that we are now in today. Yeah, cool.
Greenpeace today.
Yeah, I got some
Got those
too.
right? And so after that, did you guys get taken away, police, anything, or did you just walk off?
Two of our members were arrested.
Yep.
And they are being charged.
Yeah. And what's the charge?
Defacement,
Yeah.
vandalism.
Yeah.
You know, resisting arrest, that type of stuff.
How does that stick if Te Papa has basically said this is now part of the story? It's almost like Te Papa is saying there's no crime here.
There is no crime.
Yeah.
There's no crime. Te Papa have actually quietly admitted that they were in the wrong.
Yeah.
You know, that we can work with them. They don't like to admit it.
Yeah.
And especially with our minister, Goldsmith,
Yeah.
he definitely did not want that art piece up there.
Right.
We're now getting asked by art galleries around the country, hey, can you ask Te Papa if they would release that art piece
To tour.
to tour?
Yeah.
And you know, they won't even say what is going to happen with that.
Hikui's coming through. Let's move off to the side of it with the hikui. Kia ora, team.
Kia ora. This is cool, eh?
Yeah, this is too cool, bro.
This is real cool.
I chatted with John Campbell yesterday, and my realization, this is my first time at Waitangi for Waitangi,
Yeah.
is this is not a tourist event.
No.
Most people here are Māori.
Yeah.
It's a homecoming.
Yeah. But look at how other people are getting involved and wanting to get involved too.
Yeah.
You know.
And this beside the sports field, show them the sports field, love. If you question what I'm saying, basically there's advocates in there, and basically all of them are Māori advocates. It's
Yeah.
Māori health.
Yes.
It's Māori mental
Yes.
health.
Yes.
So this is not a tourist.
No, it's not a tourist thing.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. We're going to try and do this every year. I don't know how, but we're going to give it a crack.
Go hard, man.
So tell us about Waitangi for you.
Waitangi for me. Actually, I've got to admit, this is my first time
cool.
at Waitangi
Welcome.
for Waitangi.
We popped our cherries on the same week. so to speak.
And you're on honeymoon.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Good
we
on you.
won't use any metaphors there. Let's leave those alone. So tell people about what you do, where they can find you, the stuff that you're about. You said we're a group.
Yeah, Te Waka Haurua.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we what do? We meet. We are about action.
Yeah.
So we like taking action.
Yeah.
We encourage people to take action, and we've got a couple of actions that have led on from that, and even before, where we want to do actions that put it back in the government's face as to, look, your narrative is all over the country.
Yeah.
Our narrative is actually concealed. You know, let's highlight that. And redaction, we found out, is an academic theory.
Yeah.
We had someone doing a PhD comment on what we did and went into the academic theory about redaction. So we were like, whoa, we never thought about that.
You're like redaction, but in real life, physically removing words.
Yeah, and making up a new narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was so much in it. I was like, whoa, we never thought about
One
that.
of the messages I've heard from doing down the forum tent and looking around is a lot of people are using the word, it's time to activate. Activation.
Activate.
Like they've done everything for the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And now, especially with this government, is the time to activate.
If anything, this is, I don't really want to talk about this government.
Yeah.
They are the symptom.
Yeah.
They are the symptom. What we're seeing, what we really are witnessing is that our system is in decline.
Yeah.
We have a systemic problem. We need systemic change.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that from changing the people in government unless we have people in government who are advocating for a systemic change.
Yeah.
And Māori can lead that. And I think Māori can take Pākehā and non-Māori through that, walk them through that,
Yeah.
and make sure they're safe, so that they don't get freaked out. Oh no, where are we going? Yeah.
It's so good to see you, bro. So nice
Yeah.
to meet you.
Lovely to meet
And,
you, brother.
Come on anytime.
Oh yeah,
you know?
yeah. Well,
Tell us what you're doing. We are about providing sort of an open door for others to get their messages out as well.
oh cool.
So connect with us. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah. Okay then. Okay, I'll email you
Yeah, bro.
or something. Yeah.
And enjoy Waitangi.
Mean brother.
All right, man.
And you enjoy it too. Big hairy news.
That is an uncommon, I guess, concern of doing an open air interview is to have a hikoi walk through the middle of it.
Yes, very true. No, I love that.
But isn't that cool? Isn't that cool to hear about that? Yeah, like I think this is something that yeah, it's definitely part of that story now. They should put it up with the context. You know, I'm a big fan of, you know, it's like when people push down statues or they leave statues up of horrible people or that sort of thing. Leave it there. That's part of the story now. So add context to it. It's like, all right, people put up the statue of this horrible person, and now we know he's a fucking horrible person. He's all the horrible things that he did. With what was done to that display in Te Papa, that is part of its story now. Give context to the story. Let people know. Because I saw a post on Reddit today, like an American's tip for other people visiting New Zealand. And one of the things that he noticed was that in a lot of the museums that he went to, we very much still gloss over the issues between the Crown and Māori, or how Māori are treated in our society and that sort of thing. And I don't know, I read that from an American and I kind of went, telling us about how to talk about race relations. What the fuck? And like, if he's able to point it out, then we're not doing a good job in our museums of acknowledging and explaining both sides of it. You know, I think things are getting better, but I mean, that's something that maybe needs to be looked at. And hopefully Te Papa have taken what happened as a learning moment. Fingers crossed, see what they do when they put something back up, I guess.
Yeah, I love the idea of having it as like a touring art piece, though. That's quite cool.
Yeah.
I think that yeah, it's cool to see that sort of stuff actually be acknowledged. And I love he was talking about how someone had done a paper on it, and I'm like, yeah, art. If you want to get really academic and like theory about it, you can do that about everything. But I always find the breakdown or the theorizing of art and art movements and things is always quite fascinating, because everything, I guess, in a lot of things in culture and society as well, everything builds from historic events and builds from a lot of context around it. So even if you don't know what you've created is referencing things, as soon as you know about stuff, you can see where the influences and references have come from. So it's quite interesting. I always loved academic art stuff.
One of my favorite examples of providing context to like a monument is actually in Edinburgh. Last time I was there, I was wandering around and there was this like big, like enormous obelisk in the middle of this lovely little square where people were having lunch and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I wonder what this is. I see some information boards around it. I went up and had a wander, and it was an obelisk to I think it's Lord or Admiral Dundas or something like that, who was a British politician, lord, whatever. But what those information boards told me about him was that he had raided the Royal Navy's essentially pension fund to build that obelisk, that a monument to himself. That he had argued in favor of continuing slavery. And was generally a horrible, horrible person. And I really like that they did that. This man was so vain, he stole money from people to build a monument to himself while he was still alive. So now we're going to use it to tell you all the other shitty things he did. Brilliant.
No, I do love that. That's it's one way of turning things around, eh? It's like, well, gonna use it against what you wanted it to be used for. Love it.
Absolutely. Sort of tangentially to that, that is one of the reasons why I really, really wish they would rename Dundas Street in Dunedin. Because of course they named a lot of Dunedin streets after streets in Edinburgh, so they just copy pasted that one over, and it's like, oh, okay, so he's a shitty person, a slaver, and we get to have his name over here. He has nothing to do with this place. Yay, colonialism.
Yep. It's always fun learning the history of names, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely.
shall we do a few super chats, and then I've got a bit of a quick Chloe appearance.
Oh yes, yes.
Not in person, unfortunately, but a recording that Pat took, which will be fun to have a quick look at. Kiwi Bird for $2 says, "Wow, marrying Davo, the ped protector, cool."
I mean,
Zero.
with that, you've got to wonder about the timing of this announcement, right? Like, his comments the other day at Waitangi and the way that he conducted that shocking interview really made me think of the dead cat method. Of like, you've got something shitty in the media, just do something worse. Distract, pull focus for the fact that he was covering for a pedophile for years.
Yep. For sure, and that's why I would like to continue chatting about it, which we will at the very end. I've got some fun stuff for you. TrickNut72, $2 late fee. Thank you. Maybe we should up our late fees to $5. No, there was a joke. No. Chat, do not take that seriously. That was a joke. We appreciate the $2. That is not me saying you have to. That was a joke. I'm gonna start at $5. Don't even need to do late fees in the first place. Mr. Arvids, $5. As much as I do not like Nintendo DS, I do with a passion. And I do with a passion. I sincerely wish him happiness if he was out of the political and corporate C-suite world. Hey, he was a man of integrity and man of his word.
Yeah. No, look, if he gets out, like, we will give some Patreon money and send him a lovely gift basket full of shepherd's pie, cheesy rice, whatever the fuck that was. Yeah. No, that won't work.
No. Kenny's dead. Wow, that's a classic. $5 was at Waitangi Park in Wellington with my BHN shirt on after a few drinks. Was awesome as. Go!
Nice. Good to hear.
That's cool. Love to see it. Love a BHN moment. Right. So yesterday I had quite a bit of footage to show you. We had was that yesterday that we had John Campbell and Chippy interviews? Was it?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a wild week of many things. Pat was also in attendance of a panel in which Chloe was talking about. The question was asked to her about how she manages being a voice for Māori and not speaking over Māori, and I really appreciated her comments on this one. So if I get my shit together, I'll show you I'll show you the video. Yeah, sound good? Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, I think we should do it. Do it that way.
Sorry about the quality. I don't know why, but the last ones that Pat said were really bad quality. But you get the gist. The audio's there.
In your space and what you've seen, because you want to be the helpful Pākehā, but you also don't want to overstep too. And so how do you move in that space? Because you've been doing a bit in the Auckland Central area for a while, and using the resources and the voice that you have, the connections to help local spaces and places. I keep thinking about Waitangi and all of that. But how do you, as Pākehā plus MP, help elevate the local issues? Kia ora.
I just also wanted to pick up on that point because I've heard it in a lot of kōrero around the treaty grounds and down Ngāi and otherwise over the past few days where people have just been going, okay, it's all good, we've heard from the governing parties that they are going to kill the bill. Whānau, the bill is not the end of this. We've seen, as Suhana just alluded to, the regulatory standards legislation, but we also have in the New Zealand First National Coalition Agreement a commitment to review all of the treaty clauses and all of the legislation. And we obviously have a government that is being very explicit about its intent to exploit te taia, which means consistently sidelining treaty rights. So let's be really crystal clear about that this is not the end of the fight, and that's why it is so critically important that people continue to inform and engage in the political system. The first thing that I would say about all of that is that all of this is political. The amount of people who I engage with who say, oh, I'm not actually political. Politics isn't about partisan political parties and parliaments. Politics is about power, and it's about resources, and it's about who gets to make decisions that saturate and shape our daily lives. So if you don't do politics, politics is going to do you. That's a really, really important thing to have away from this. And in terms of that kind of structural change, I have a bit of a nerdy kind of theoretical framework for all of this stuff. And bear in mind that this comes from the context of sitting inside of, as Kirsty was just talking about, a role that largely oftentimes looks at harm minimisation. Because we are acutely aware of the fact that the Westminster colonial parliamentary system was not born here. It came here and it has consistently sought to exploit people, planet and tangata whenua. Primarily actually by separating tangata whenua from their whenua. So one way to look at that is through a lens of structure and with culture, and this picks up on some of the points from Summer as well. Structure is the blueprint or the coat hooks or the social contract as we kind of understand it. It's the legislation, the regulation, the funding, the taxation, the incentives, the subsidies, the contracts, the procurement processes, the international trade agreements. But that stuff only gets its legitimacy from and can be delegitimized by culture. So culture here, I'm not talking about as synonymous with people's ethnicity or geographical background or religious practice or otherwise. I'm talking about culture from a design thinking perspective. And when you think about culture from that perspective, it's about a shared set of values. Let that sink in. Culture is about a shared set of values. So when we focus in that cultural space, when we focus in the space of stimulating this kōrero about the values that we prioritize or deprioritize, that we are creating an environment conducive to structural change. And the levers for that look like things like media, including social media. They look like education. Think about, for example, if this government doesn't completely rip up the New Zealand history and schools curriculum, the markedly different conversations that we will be having about co-governance in 5 to 10 years' time. They are things like community building and petition and about protest. They are all about conversations. And this might seem really, really, really basic and boring and sometimes perhaps a little bit stupid, but it comes back to the point made before about how in order to progress things, it is really, really critical that those of us who hold privilege and are not receiving the downstream impacts of some of these racist, sexist, homophobic, etc. views, have the opportunity to have these conversations within our whānau. So this is actually a shout out to all the Pākehā who are here, because I'm sure all of you have been told time and again not to have a conversation with Uncle Jim about politics at the Christmas table. Because there's an assumption from your mum or your dad or your auntie or whatever that that's going to escalate to fisticuffs. I just want to call that out because the notion, firstly, that conflict is a bad thing is a really problematic notion. We should be able to have really challenging conversations and come back to Tahu, come back to our shared values. And the best way to do that is just to ask why. Just to ask where these views come from. And you will find that oftentimes a lot of this racist stuff comes from fear. And the more that you dig into that, the more that you have an opportunity to replace that story with something that is hopeful. So to put that in the context of what we've been doing around Auckland Central, just want to shout out to some of the mahi that Ngāti Kaua have been doing with regard to Protect Pūtiki. Again, just to provide some context and some kind of whakaaro on that, I alluded to in my introductory remarks about being 10 years old when the narrative was going about the foreshore and seabed and about Te Iwi Māori coming to steal the rights and public access. 20 years later, I have read more than enough petition, more than enough protests, and more than enough occupations to know that in fact it is oftentimes the iwi Māori who are protecting public access to the foreshore and seabed are the only things standing in the way of natural environment devastation. So that is where that change happens, on the ground, building those relationships and building up from that space, because honestly, change is not going to come from the top down as the mahi that we do in our daily practice.
Yeah, very well said.
Wow.
I can see people's, because I saw a few criticisms about word salad. Chloe speaks from a very academic point of view, in all fairness. So yes, some of the things that she's talking about are probably a little bit theoretical in some like frameworks and theory and stuff, but so I do understand why people get a little bit sort of tripped over her words, but her sentiment I think always comes through towards the end, and I think that's just her way of framing and viewing things, and it may not be for everyone, but I think for some of us who get it, we really get it.
Yeah, and that's a positive and a negative, right? So like, what I love about Chloe is that she can rapidly and very clearly explain complex, often interlocking concepts and systems. Like, you can't change this until you change this, and you need to do this to make that happen. And I think why that's so unusual is we don't often see that. The issues that we often see our politicians talking about is one issue in a box. You know, we want to solve crime. So to solve crime, you put people in prison. That's a little A plus B equals C, fits in a soundbite, goes on an election poster, job done. You don't want to hear, well, we can solve crime if we solve child poverty and if we fund our schools correctly, and then the flow-on effect is this. People don't want to hear it. So yeah, I think that's Chloe's superpower is in front of the right people. She can illustrate that like nobody else. I think she's a phenomenal communicator for that. Does that transfer through to mass cut through in the media? I don't know. All I know is that every time she has been on a panel with David Seymour, she has dog walked him around by his nose. You can't get anything past her. She will point out that it's just populist bullshit, that it's she will just show, she will rip holes in whatever David puts up. So yeah, sometimes it is, man, this is it's a fire hose of information. It's an info dump, and as a fellow ADDer, I can see it. That is someone that is in full flight on their chosen passion subject.
Yeah.
Like that's how I talk about some events in history and things like that. So yeah, game recognizes game.
Yep, 100%. You know that she knows everything you could possibly know about it. She could answer any question, and even if it does come probably from probably I assume a political science background, still gets her point across about all the interconnecting things. I think that is the thing that a lot of people struggle with in the general populace, is that if you don't have that soundbitey, we'll put criminals in jail type stuff, and you actually explain the systems in which this all happens within, which is how I started to understand things in connection, is actually understanding the systems in which our culture is, or our society is the way it is. Yeah, it just, you turn off a little bit, unfortunately. But yeah, we've got a lot of really deep-seated issues that can't be fixed with simple solutions, and thank God Chloe's in there actually articulating that. I've told you people this.
I have an almost automatic suspicion of anyone that comes in and says that they can solve something in a parliamentary term. Like, you just you can't, especially when it's a systemic issue. Like, when Jacinda was talking about making an impact on child poverty, I don't think she was talking about in a 4-year term. I think she was talking about an immediate reduction and a longer reduction over time. I think when National is talking about having an impact on school results and stuff like that, it sounds very much like by next election we will turn this whole train around. And it's like, no, you won't. We won't know how successful your changes to the curriculum are until people hit high school or that cadre hits university, you are talking
Probably even
about
their first
something
jobs.
10, 15 years down the track.
Yeah.
And that's why, especially with those things, when it comes in like this government and they're like, we're going to make dramatic changes rapidly, and we're going to disregard the opinion of a lot of people that work in this space, that should worry people. I want to hear more politicians talk about, we are going to do this even though we know it's difficult and it's not going to pay off. Well, in this term or next term, it might not even pay off when we're the government. The other team might be at the helm of this, but this is good for the country. It's like planting a tree that you're not going to get to enjoy. I want to see more of that honesty, and maybe that's pure idealism from me. There's somebody not vibing on Chloe in the comments, and then he showed his whole ass by just go New Zealand first. So
Yeah.
different strokes for different folks. How much of what Winston's promised has come true?
Yeah.
Not much.
Yep. Shall we, while we're on the Waitangi day, let's say Waitangi train, do you want to see a nice positive story that's a bit of a nice tail end to Waitangi celebrations?
100%. We don't do it
Because
enough.
I feel like I know. We like a bit of wholesome good news. Just sometimes. Just sometimes.
The ground in Waitangi trembles with the stomping feet of hundreds of warriors. A haka for the ages, bringing spectators to a standstill.
Yeah, absolutely. Speechless.
Very moving in the heart, moving in the body everywhere. Beautiful.
89-year-old Henny Davis has seen the tide here come and go many times.
There was one or two waka when I first saw it, but this is wonderful. I feel all choked up just watching it.
And on the 185th anniversary of the signing of Te Tiriti, she and others reflect on the partnership it forged.
In parts we've come a long way, but then some parts we're still trying to make our way.
I'm from France, but my wife is Maori. My daughter is here with the children, and every year we come to honour the Treaty of Waitangi.
Mai tūpuna, tohu kāka I wharepopa, hokianga. They signed back up at Maungungu, and that's why I'm here, to make sure that we, their descendants, maintain this, hold on to this.
Well, we think it's important for Pākehā to be, celebrating the birth of our nation on Waitangi Day at the place where it all happens.
2025 marks another milestone in the Māori-Crown relationship, the 50-year anniversary of the Māori Land March.
When it came through Napier, that was where I'm from. Yeah, they stopped by.
This is a really fascinating comment at the end here.
Queensland College. Yeah, and they said to us if we wanted to join the journey as well.
So she and her school friends did.
Do you think we've come far as a country since that land march?
No. The infighting and whatever, that needs to stop. But this is a new generation now, and hopefully our next generation can, do something about it.
And they are, leading today's hikoi to Waitangi.
Just fighting for our rights as Māoris and all that, and just had to do what's right.
I don't know much, but all I know is that we're fighting for it and we won't give up.
Carrying on the same fight as their forebears.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
That drone shot of the people on the beach with the sand art as well, the designs raked onto the sand, was
Oh.
amazing.
Yeah.
Like, you can see the designs on the beach there. That's phenomenal. That's so cool. And the older woman saying when she started going, and there were only a couple of waka, and now there's so many. Yeah, that's cool, man. That's real cool.
Very, very cool. I feel like that's a nice way of reflecting on past all the bullshit we've seen this week, and Luxon speaking on behalf of everyone, and Seymour getting way too much fucking ear. But
I think this is I think one of the benefits of having obviously Pat up there as well is, like, I think of so many years when it's been Waitangi Day and the news is always about what the politicians said, and there's very little visibility on the rest of the week. And again, I think it's what you said the other night, or like maybe it's because we're paying more attention. And I hope that that's echoed in the general populace as well. That it's not just the politician speeches. That's not the only reason. It's not the controversy and friction of that day, but it's also everything around it, like the unity, the expression of Māori identity that comes out of it. That is actually the true story around it. And it's what, I see people in the comments going, "Oh, we should all go next year." I am locked in at this point. Like I am gutted that I couldn't get it to work this year. But next year, 100%, we will at least double the BHN presence at Waitangi. That is my promise. There will be at least two of us. Possibly more, possibly, because it just looks cool, and again, just to immerse yourself in that vibe and that feeling, to fly the flag of our paler countrymen, I think is important as well. So yeah, no, that's ace.
Scotsman's.
I really like it.
Gotta show off
Scots,
my English and Scottish heritage.
Scots, Irish, scared of the sun, but here anyway.
We'll be in full body suits in our little parasols and be like, "We're here. We're burning, but we're here."
Yeah.
Sadly.
Well, now we know the reason why the treaty was signed in a tent. British delegation, too hot. Too
much. One little super chat from JC and the Pigeon Cats for $2.30 was a late fee with a 15% mandated increase. Love it.
Public holiday surcharge. Sorry, guys, don't make the rules.
No. The rules. Oh, we're flying through things today, aren't we?
How unusual.
Now, I could bring the mood down, or I could bring the mood downer.
Oh wow, that's quite a choice that you've given us there.
Yeah. I have limited Seymour's airtime though. Sorry, Nintendo DS. He's getting slightly less airtime.
Cool.
Just a little,
that's good.
A little bit
If it's not Seymour related, let's roll with that one.
Okay, we'll do that one first then. The lesser of the two.
I mean, we are limiting his free speech by doing that, but we're using our free speech to do it. So that's all good.
Yep. Luxo Luther, Lex Luther, something like that. Was here in Akaroa, down in Canterbury today. Hiding. He had one protester managed to get through, sadly. Not sadly for him, but only one, sadly. And there was a few. I don't really need to show his speech because I think we can all guess what that was. But at the beginning of this wee article, there was a few comments around the Ngāi Tahu representative, whose name I don't know, but hopefully it's subtitled. Hopefully. What's another bunch?
Then getting a front row seat to hear exactly what Ngāi Tahu makes of his government's Treaty Principles Bill.
As a national party that fails to take leadership on matters of fundamental importance to the identity of our nation is not worthy of its own name. If our country continues to divide and fragment, we will lose the trust and stability. We will lose the fundamental good faith that makes economic growth and prosperity possible.
The Prime Minister took it on board.
Look, I thought there was really respectful but very straight-up challenge and provocation, and quite rightly so.
He says the government and Ngāi Tahu are on the same page in many areas, such as economic growth being the way forward.
So we've got massive alignment around our values and I think around the way we want to work going forward.
Yeah, but they told you you can't deliver economic growth if you've got a fractured country, right? That was one of the things they told you.
There was a number of themes that I thought put together and articulated incredibly well, and as I said, I think it was really fair challenge and provocation, but there was also very good alignment.
For many who came to Akaroa's...
Yeah, I feel like he just took the, if we're divided, we can't have economic growth, and just ignored the part where it says if you have a soft jellyfish prime minister who's not going to challenge these right-wingers, then you're not going to have that. Well, actually, no, he said you're not worthy of the name national. He kind of just glossed over that a little bit and just went with, oh yes, we agree with the same thing. We all need to work and work together, get rid of the division, and then economic growth. I think that's all he heard.
I noticed that it kind of felt like he was going to front foot the fact that a guy got up on the podium and told him shit's out of whack. And I'm going to acknowledge that, I think it was great to bring that up, and it's an exchange of views, and then ignore the body of what he was told. Like, he acknowledged it, definitely happened. I don't want to discuss any of it. Growth, economy, growth. I think he's also 100% not acknowledging how fine a beard delivered that challenge to him, which 100% increased its efficacy. That beard was a beard of power. It was a beard of righteousness. As I've already said today, game recognizes game. That man's beard is magnificent. Good on Ngāi Tahu for pointing it out. Look at that.
I love the real slick hairdo, and then just this lovely beard that goes with it.
That is a look. That is a strong look. And in contrast with Jellyfish Man, I know what side I'm backing there, But yeah, he just wants to get through this week, with as little shit sticking to him as he can get away with. That's the objective.
Yeah. I do love this little I love little old white ladies. Every time they put a little old white lady on screen regarding anything Te Tiriti, Hikoi, anything like that, I'm always just warmed in my little heart that there's like old people who are just old white people who you think are gonna be a little bit racist, and they're just so progressive, and it makes me so happy to see it.
I gotta be honest, yeah. When they cut to it as a white lady, I do tense up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just like,
it's gonna be one way or the other, quite dramatically.
Yep. And then you're just like, oh, there's hope, guys, there's hope.
Keep the treaty alive. I can't understand quite why, but everything seems to be very anti-Maori that comes out of the government.
Yeah. What do you make of it?
It seems a ridiculous way to run a country if you want to offend a large part of it.
Up at Waitangi, some were unimpressed.
Like if she gets it.
Put her in charge. Can you imagine her wandering into a caucus room and going, I don't understand this. What are you boys doing? Just sort it out. And just tuts, leaves, solves the issue.
Yeah.
The disappointment of an older lady.
Peter constantly calls me out because I'm like, oh, old people are not progressive at all. And yes, I totally agree. Some white people do, but it's always a bit of like, you're never quite 100% sure what's going to come out of their mouths, historically speaking.
Again, I will back
in
this
my
up
experience.
as someone that works in retail and deals with older people quite often.
Especially in the South.
The most off the chain opinions are sometimes volunteered out of nowhere. So if someone points a camera or a microphone at them sometimes, I just start winding my neck in just in case. But yes, I think that's a valid point. Like, you can't just write off an entire generation and go that they're all like that.
No.
But you get to I think you get to a point in your life when you've gone as a certain amount of revolutions around the sun where you just stop giving a shit what people think, for better or worse.
She was definitely someone who stopped giving a shit what people think and had made up her mind in a
I will
progressive
follow
direction.
that woman into battle.
Yes, that's what we like to see. It is possible to go through the last, I was going to assume 60, 70 years and come out with that opinion, which I think is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice to see. It's nice to see. Alrighty. Got a few old little chats. Some soupy chats. Kenny's Dead is back. Love it. $2. David Seymour is the worst example of a human being. I agree.
I thought we were going to get through a day without that being pointed out, and we'd have to start the clock over again. So thank you.
Never. Never. And then Worming for $8.99 at Pack and Save. Hold on, that was Jerry next to Luxon. Jerry was at Waitangi yesterday. Looks like getting to both events was easily doable. Yes, Pat pointed that out. I saw that on Blue Sky. Yes,
so many people pointed that out today. It's almost like if you're a government leader or leader of the House, or maybe the Prime Minister, you can just put yourself on one of these things that flies through the air, and you can pretty much go from one place to another really, really easily. Dare I say, if you're the Prime Minister, you could even get like the Air Force to do it for you. Don't do it too much. Makes you look like a wanker. But you can do it. You have your own private helicopter. So any excuses about him being, I can't do it. Just can't do it. Just can't make it work. Used to run an airline. Don't know how planes work. Sorry. It's just so transparent. It's so transparent. And I don't think that's what he meant by saying that National was going to be the most transparent government ever on election night. It's not what he meant, but that's what we've got.
I do love this. I don't know if you started this, but a woman in her 70s was in her 20s in the 1970s. Many old ladies fought the good fight in their day. Yes, the hippie generation.
Yep.
Love it.
There is something about that though. Like Pat and I have discussed it. Where progressive people stop being progressive. So in their day, as you said, fighting the good fight, recognizing injustices in their world as it existed then. And then things get better and they stop. They go, you quite often see this with LGBTQ discussions. Like the people that are okay with the gays now, because that was the fight from, say, the 80s, don't get the trans discussion. And it's like, well, it's the same discussion, it's just a different group of people, but they can't get there. You know, and you see a lot of that from those older gays as well. Like there's a significant clump of lesbians that don't support trans people. You know, and they might have valid reasons and they might not, but they just don't seem to recognize that fight as a continuation of their own struggle. So that's something to be aware of, at least. But yeah, just because you're progressive now doesn't mean that you're going to be progressive later. You can go, I fought the good fight and I don't have to do it anymore.
I think if you're going to end up in that position, I think as long as you know that that's a position that you might get to in the future, I think that's where you sort of lay down and say, okay, I'm no longer part of the next progressive generation. I need to step down and let them speak and support whatever they want. Because clearly I'm stuck in my ways now. I've started to get sort of, I don't know, stuck in a different generation. So these kids, even if I don't understand them, they clearly have something that I don't understand about the way society needs to progress. And let's be honest, they're the future. Let's allow them to have the future that they want. I'm going to be dead in 20, 40 years, whatever it is.
It also links back to what Chloe was saying, is it's sort of, don't be scared of conflict, of tough conversations, of tough thoughts and self-examination, if I could extend that out a bit. Like, I remember having a really good discussion with Pat, I think it was earlier last year, about how important feeling uncomfortable is sometimes. It's not a nice feeling. That's why people like being comfy. But if you're comfy all the time, you're also not challenging yourself. And I think being mentally uncomfortable about a discussion and actually having that discussion rather than avoiding it because you don't like that yucky feeling of self-examination, that just makes you complacent. And I think the other aspect of that comes in, like the lady in the hikoi was saying, is that their younger generation is going to pick up that flag and take it further. You know, that sort of thing is really important as well. But yeah, there are, you know, you look back at the protest movement and you see the people, like say the protest movement, the civil rights movement in America, people taking rubber bullets and fucking fire hoses because black people should be able to sit on a bus sometimes. Is that's not that long ago. You know, a lot of the people that were around, like, what is it? The first, that little black schoolgirl that had to get escorted to school by the National Guard is still alive.
Rosa.
She's 70.
No, that's Rosa Parks, but she was one of the back.
Yeah,
of the
you're
school
thinking
buses,
Rosa Parks, but yeah, this
yeah.
was the like they had to use the National Guard to escort this girl to the first integrated school or something like that. That woman is 70. So you know there are older people in New Zealand that would have protested against the Americans in nuclear free, the Springbok tour, all of those sort of things. So yes, I don't want to write off an entire generation, even though we often comment on the boomers.
Yeah, we shouldn't homogenize people, but generalize, I guess, a generation. But yeah, I think for you and I, having grown up, perhaps long stayed at the very bottom of New Zealand, yeah, you kind of get to know that white people are a little bit different down there, and white people a little bit further north, and just generally people a little bit further north have very different views.
And that's that comfiness, right? If you're not confronted with it, you don't have to think about it. And I mean, I think of, I don't know if this is the first time that I ever saw racism, but in Timaru, I remember seeing two skinhead guys yelling at a Māori guy to go back to where he came from. And even as a 10, like I would have been about 10 or 11. So my knowledge of history and stuff was purely out of commando magazines and stuff like that, of going, that's a Māori guy. Why? He is where he came from. And just, I think that moment really just locked in a core memory for me of like, racists are stupid. But yeah, like I had one Māori friend, like visibly Māori friend at primary school. Apart from that, like it was very, very white. I remember the first Vietnamese family to move into the neighborhood sort of thing. Like, if you're surrounded by your own people and your own culture, it's all very comfy. You don't have to think about this sort of stuff. And I think that's why it's sometimes slower moving down here when it comes to these discussions.
Yeah, sadly. So, but I love to see it. I love to see progressive people of the old generations. Makes me really happy.
Mm.
And I'm glad that they put them on the news. It makes me even happier. All right, let's get through a small few super chats, and then boy, do I have a little bit of a shallow dive for you. It's a bit of it's a down and then it's an up. Okay, it's a bit of a wave.
Yep.
You might appreciate the end of this next part. The Falconer NZ for $5 says, "No, Chewie, that's not true. As a prime minister, you need 1 million security people to clear everything, and that takes time." Yeah, nah, not good enough. Jerry Brownlee can do it. He can do it. Ian Fraser for $2. The Chewie C thumbnail is The Thinker. Oh, as
Correct.
The Thinker yesterday?
Yes. Yes, I
Yes,
think
it
you
did.
pointed that out the other day that it was the Thinker. I did clock that.
Hmm. All right. Tim Jago.
Oh,
Back in the
sorry.
news.
Convicted pedophile? Tim Jago?
Sex offender. Yeah, sex offender, I think.
Sex
is the
offender,
correct-
convicted.
Yeah, we are allowed to say sex
Okay.
offender. It's in the headline and it is convicted, so it's not alleged.
Full title: Tim Jago, convicted sex offender, former National Party president.
Yep.
No,
that one.
sorry, not National Party. I got it wrong. I'll have to say it again. Tim Jago, convicted sexual abuser and former ACT Party president. There we go. Got it. Cool. Lock it in.
Thankfully, it is not lost on the people, on the media, at least for stuff. Good on your stuff, doing the good stuff. Victim's parents question police shelving of probe into sex offender Tim Jago. So the apparently.
Oh, yikes!
Police shelve an investigation into a teenager's. Why did police shelve an investigation into a teenager's sex abuse allegations about former ACT Party president Tim Jago 25 years before he was eventually convicted? It's a question the survivor's parents want answered. Jago's brother is a senior detective, something the couple only learned when the ex-political figure stood trial last year.
What?
While there's nothing to suggest. Well, there's nothing to suggest he influenced the investigation into their sons in 1999. That was 9 years after. Complaint in any way. They're concerned about the relationship and want... Oh, maybe it was... Okay, 1999. Want to know how any potential conflict of interest was managed by police. Police say there was no conflict of interest. That Detective Inspector Jeff Jago, a veteran cop with more than 40 years' experience, played no part in the investigation, only learned of the historic allegation when his brother was charged in January 2023. They say the decision not to lay charges 25 years ago was made after a now retired detective senior sergeant with no connection to Jago considered a legal opinion from a police legal advisor and concluded the evidential sufficiency test had not been met. Brian's mother told staff she wanted to know why the investigation into her son's initial complaint did not result in charges. Why was it swept under the table? I've never accepted that at all. She said she was concerned after learning Jago's brother was a police officer and wanted to know how police had dealt with a potential conflict of interest. If I knew Tim had a brother and he was a policeman, I would have questioned a lot of things because that just doesn't sit right.
Yeah, I bet.
So that's the general gist of things, and then there's some things that we kind of already knew about. This line definitely hit hard. Asked what state Brian was in, the victim. Jago said, paralytic. Didn't think to maybe check on the guy? Or alert someone that he had someone who was paralytic on his bed? And thought, It's fine. I'm drunk. I'm going to sleep instead of. Maybe I should try and wake the guy. Is he okay? Yes, it's a different culture now, but before you have your fufu, not that I'm trying to defend this in any way, but we do know historically sexual abuse was not handled well by the police, and we have definitely come a long way. Still not an excuse, but it does add context to perhaps why it wasn't pursued 25 years ago. But I'm glad that it has been fixed now. Sadly for the victims.
Well, better.
Better.
I mean, I think that the part of the story about whether there was a conflict of interest, I don't think anybody was. I don't think it's even like a case of like, oh, his brother shelved this probe, which is again is a terrible phrase if you know how other meanings for any of those words. I don't think it's a case of his brother swooping in and saving his investigation, but the police can be an old boys network. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a case of him going, hey, this is my brother, go easy on him. It can be investigating officers working out that this is the brother of someone in their club. And so maybe we'll make this go away. Now, I'm not saying that is what happened. There's no proof of that happening. But I'm just saying that his brother might not have had to do anything. And we, as you mentioned, we know from that time period the police were not good at this. It's hard enough now coming forward for an allegation like this to do that today, let alone 25 years ago. But I think it is very clear at this case at this time that this guy is either exceedingly lucky or has several layers of people at various times over the last 30 years covering for him. Like, even if you leave the rumors of sexual assault out of it, the fact that he was sacked from Surf Lifesaving Club for financial impropriety and then became ACT Party president to the point where Seymour had to defend him. Like, that's fucked. That's fucked straight out of the gates. The fact that that certainly ACT's youth wing knew that Tim Jago was a sus character 5 years ago. And he was still put in charge of an investigation into that organization's misogynistic and rape culture. They put a sexual abuser in charge of that, of investigating how young people are treated. Like, that's fucked. Why is this not like, I don't care that David Seymour got engaged. Irrelevant. That story should be couched with, oh, did you know David Seymour got engaged? We asked him how many times he hung out with Tim Jago. We asked him while he was sitting next to his new fiance when he first found out. We asked him why, instead of going to the police when someone came to him the information, he tried to refer it to a law firm, an employment law firm run by his godmother. Why did he do that? Congratulations on the engagement, David. But if you could answer those questions, please. Oh, you're too busy going full mask off, Herald comment section racist at Waitangi. I wonder why. Why are your school dinners getting more airtime than your relationship with Tim Jago? Why? Why? Till the end of time.
Yep. I'm glad that there's still stuff coming out about this. There is an argument to be made that we're on a bit of a witch hunt for Seymour for this particular thing. I could be on a witch hunt for Seymour for a multitude of things. Grooming, for example, on Snapchat is one thing that they managed to just get away with. The reason that I think he is somewhat, if not quite responsible for at least part of this, if not the culture that his party has been outed for, culture of misogyny and inappropriate sexual misconduct, I guess, of sorts. Cultures. I decided to do a little bit of a deep dive to find out if there had been other controversies, scandals in the news in the last the last 10 years or so, 15 years, that people have been sacked for less. And they have. One of two. 8 New Zealand politicians who were forced to resign. An article from 2014. I specifically went for the ones that had the words sexual in it, just so we're talking about similar things. Number 1, Darren Hughes, 2011. Labour MP Darren Hughes resigned 2 days after it was revealed that he was subject to a complaint believed to be of a sexual nature from an 18-year-old student. Phil Goff announced Hughes' resignation, saying that the controversy around allegations made against him made it impossible to carry out his duties. A complaint, not a conviction, or not. Just a complaint. Richard Worth. He was an Epsom MP, by the way.
Epsom, the cursed electorate.
He was on an official trip, 2009. There were reports of a private trip to India promoting aviation training in New Zealand, and while having an interest in an academy. Later in the year, there were allegations he visited a taxi driver who had allegedly been attacked by a group, one of whom was the son of an acquaintance. The following month, there was a serious sexual allegation from an Auckland businesswoman. He resigned as cabinet minister, and a few weeks later, as a list MP. I went into politics to make a contribution to New Zealand. I can see that it's no longer possible for me to do that through politics, so I'm now choosing to follow another positive path. So he says.
He was never heard from again.
Yeah. The following month, there was a serious sexual allegation.
Yeah.
Allegation.
Not a conviction.
Not a conviction. Oh, look, and there's another one. Was that only up to 2000? So that was 2014. Like a Wikipedia page. Dating back to the 1870s, or should I say the first one that comes up is the 1890s, but let's come to modern day. What have we got? 2009? There you go, 2009. National Cabinet Minister Richard Worth resigns after allegations of sexual harassment. 2011, investigation of sexual assault allegations made against Darren Hughes. The then Labour Party Phil Goff had known of allegations for 2 weeks before they became public. 2 weeks? Not 4 years.
That's
2 weeks.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, how long's too long to keep something like that for the public? Like that
2
that
weeks
could actually
from
2 yeah,
2 weeks was something that
to
was
investigate and sort of go, oh yeah, no, we're cutting you loose, my dude.
Yep. No, I think the 2 weeks is reasonable. A lot of these stories that I've seen, that I've read through, 2 weeks is about the time that the leaders come forward and say, we've done an internal investigation, we've decided to make this decision.
Imagine, say your David Seymour serious allegation comes to you through a Facebook chat, and you talk to the person and you sort of make a judgment there of like, yep, this person sounds credible. Wouldn't you immediately go, okay, you need to take a sabbatical, or you're sick, you need to disappear because you are toxic waste at this point. we'll do a proper investigation. And if you're cleared, you come back. We never mention it. If you did do it, you're fucking dead to me. How dare you do this to me? Sort of thing. Not try and cover it up, which is very clearly is a cover up.
Further to this as well, sexual assault allegations were made. Hughes resigned, and police later determined there was insufficient evidence to launch a prosecution. He still resigned. Allegation. Still resigned.
Because the rumors itself should be toxic enough.
Yep. But you also just don't want anything to do with it, and if it comes to light that you kept him on, even though you knew there was allegations, most people are smart enough to cut them loose. Colin Craig, Conservative Party, resigns as party leader. Leader this time. Allegations of sexual harassment of his former secretary in the messy leadership dispute which follows. Craig is suspended by the party this time because he was the leader. Colin Craig, see above, cited in court during defamation case taken against him relating to sexual harassment allegations. So he ended up going for defamation on that one. Ross, I've read quite a bit about Ross. If you don't remember the National Simon Bridges saga, you can see there's quite a paragraph that explains it. In the end, Jamie Lee Ross, on October 18th, a news report was released with 4 women accusing Ross of incoherent rages, sexual harassment, and bullying behaviour. That whole thing blew up through National, so yeah, he was gone. A high-up Labour Party staffer is accused of sexually assaulting a 19-year-old party volunteer. Labour Party President Nigel Horworth resigns amidst this scandal. Scandal, not a conviction. Oh, and these are all just the citations. So there you go. MPs have been removed for less, not convicted. The only thing I will say in this case is a lot of those were MPs under leadership. David Seymour is the leader. And do you think his party would get rid of him?
Absolutely not.
No.
They won't, because he has led ACT to their best results ever. So no sin is bad enough. As long as he keeps winning, as long as he keeps their issues in the forefront of the public space, he has had more wins for ACT than ever before. His supporters love him. They love the little creep. And there is no one there with the stones to roll him. So, yeah, this won't touch him. This won't touch him at all. And that itself is a crime. Do you know what else is a crime, Emily?
Oh, no, I see something there.
Colin Craig.
Oh,
being
that's
sexy.
right. Oh, that.
Being sexy in a sand
I forgot
dune.
that existed.
While he's doing that photo shoot, this is what I love about this. The time he was doing this photo shoot, he was sexually harassing that woman. He agreed to this photo while writing some of the grossest love poems you can find. And that I use love with huge quotation marks because they are just ick poems. The grossest fucking thing. He's a terrible human being. And yeah, conservatives. What a bunch of creeps. Sorry I inflicted that photo on you.
It took me back to a different time. Took me back to a different time.
Yeah, a time before you were reminded about that photo.
I was a kid, and I didn't know shit about politics. The fact that I remember that is saying something.
That photo should have been used as a campaign about, like, stay away from sand dunes. It's where conservatives lurk in blue suits.
Yeah. So it's not like scandals and controversies haven't been part of the political sphere, and people in power have been sacked for lesser, if not allegations. The fact that he was grooming kids on Snapchat would have been enough of an offence if he wasn't the leader to get him sacked, in my opinion. But is that going to happen if you're part of the ACT Party? Hell fucking no. Never going to happen.
Look, Bishop had a very similar thing. Talking to teenagers on social media. I think that was Snapchat as well. Like, the fact that a government minister thought using an app whose whole existence revolves around deleting your messages was a good idea. Like, these are political leaders. They're supposed to be smart operators that are good at fucking managing their own ass. And they thought that that was a good idea that wouldn't in any way fail on them, come back to haunt them, that sort of thing. I mean, it hasn't haunted Seymour. He fucking laughs it off now. But yeah, when you tie it all together, when you unroll this onion, it's rotten to the core. And people that are minimizing this, that's a reflection on your character more than anything else. Like, there's no debate. The guy's convicted now. He's in jail. He did these things. Everybody that's been covering for him and apologizing for him and minimizing his actions, all of that sort of thing. What the fuck? Take a look at yourself. But yeah, David needs to when's David's next appearance on Q&A? Never. He'll never agree to go on Q&A because it's what Jack Tame's going to hit him with it again and again and again.
Oh, okay, this is the last thing. I was like, yep, the Bishop thing. I didn't actually look into that, but I'd be a little bit interested because that kind of got swept under the rug. Witnesses reportedly said that Bishop was taken aside and asked to stop what he was doing. I wanted to confront him as many parents felt very uncomfortable that their children were being messaged, the mother said. He admitted it straight away and thanked me for bringing it to his attention. And other parents were concerned that Bishop's intentions were anything other than misguided. Could just be a perception thing. He communicated with young people through his account, but after hearing that some parents were unsure about their kids communicating with MPs on social media, he changed his settings so he would only interact with people he knew personally. Not a bad way to respond to that, right? Still a little bit questionable. Not a bad way to respond to that. Compared with Seymour's response. Seymour says he still uses it to reply to serious questions a few times a month and does not see any issue with directly messaging young people without parental permission or oversight. Doesn't see a problem
that can conceal your actions. I don't think, personally, that any lawmaker should communicate on any platform that cannot be part of the official information request. Every interaction, like, you can request an MP's email conversations, his text conversations. How do you do that for Snapchat? Like, it's just an app that the politicians, lawmakers, should not have on their phones. Like, it's just bizarre to me that a grown man thinks that that's a good idea. There are other ways to engage with politically interested young people, and that is in a room with other adults, making sure that nothing sus goes on. You know, it's dumb. It's dumb. You're just opening yourself up for this. Yeah, dumb.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Just, I wish
I
had
okay. No,
reading.
sorry. Good clarification here. You can't request an MP's communications. You can request a minister's communication. Yeah. Okay. No, fair enough.
Quote, he just came to my school when I was 15. I was in year 10. Someone told Newsroom. I'm not sure for what. It was a long time ago, but some sort of political event that the school had organised. I remember afterwards, everyone was real keen on chatting to him, and he handed out his Snapchat. Mary confirmed that Seymour never initiated conversations with her or friends, but he was very willing to chat when messaged. From what I can recall, he would always respond, and he was happy to engage in things that weren't necessarily political. I thought it was really funny. We all thought it was really quite a good laugh, having a politician willing to Snapchat you, the then 15-year-old. Now she has a couple of concerns. The first is the nature of Snapchat, which is a platform that allows for direct private messaging of photos and text between two people. Those messages also disappear after they've been viewed, leaving no lasting record of the correspondence. It's strange given the nature of the app and the fact that we were 3 years off voting. You sort of question why he bothers.
Does this strike you as someone that just wants to be seen as likable? Like, too much?
Or relatable, yeah. But the fact that the Bishop thing had happened prior, and he kind of went much further. At least Bishop was like, the parent literally came to, as far as I understand, the parent came to him and said, I'm not sure about this. And he said, yo, good point. Because technology's changed, right? Technology has very much changed. We can't blame them for a new technology and not really knowing how to use it, and then not, like, we've all been through that. We were like, oh, maybe interacting with a 13-year-old when I'm 20 isn't quite appropriate. Hanging out with an 18-year-old when I'm 30, perhaps not appropriate.
Like,
because
I
we're
know
in
people
just
that,
different situations.
I know of people that coach like children's sports teams, like school-age children's sports teams, right? They don't message the children directly. They message the parents for this very reason, to make sure that there is no possible way that they can be accused of something like this, right? And I think like if you want to be someone that's communicating, leave Snapchat to your social media teams. Like that's not a serious. Like, no one's going to reach out to their local MP on Snapchat, are they? About something job related. Like, it's just weird. It's just not something that you should do. I think when it comes to talking about stuff that can be IOA'd and that sort of thing, I think if you're an MP and not a minister, you should start acting like you are a minister and just not have that shit on your phone. Like on your work phone. Just practice, do now as you mean to go on. But yeah, if like straight away, like these are supposed to be deep thinkers. If I said to you, you're a near 40-year-old man using a social media messaging service that deletes messages to talk to school children, does that sound good when you say it out loud? It fucking doesn't. It doesn't at all. You should have someone vet your phone use. You should have someone next to you. You need a license at that point. Like, I think, like, based on this, David Seymour should have a fucking button phone with no internet access. It's got one it's got one phone number in it that says fiance. So he can ring her and say, your parliament's finished. Can you come and pick me up, please? Thank you. They're mean to me here.
You're pretty. They won't be mean to you.
Yeah. The more you think about it, the more icky and dumb it is.
Yep. Yep. And with everything else that's come out, with the Young App Party calling him out for calling out the party for its generally terrible, toxic. The MPs themselves that stand behind him calling it out for being a bit toxic and misogynist of a culture in his party. Yet he continues to be the leader, and the party won't oust him. So,
I mean, on its own, the Snapchat thing is dumb and icky on its own in isolation. When you tie it into the fact that this guy was defending, protecting someone who preyed on young people, it's a little bit more sinister at that point.
Even if he
Like,
just didn't see it.
Like there's
I mean-
tons of examples of powerful people and especially powerful people in politics. Oh, here's some alliteration. If alliteration's fun, it's going to take the sting out of what I'm going to say. Powerful people in politics protecting pedophiles.
Quite the history of it. Yep. This is all to say, why the fuck is he about to be Deputy Prime Minister? And let's be honest, you can say the same shit about Winston, who's had many a controversy himself, but it just comes back to being quite a toxic culture in Parliament, and seems a bit like an old boys club.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want him as my...
Like, where are the people of integrity on the right? Where are the people of integrity in the ACT Party that like if you were like, even if you were a political operator, see some blood in the water here and be the person that stands up and goes, this is not good enough. We're the party of fucking personal responsibility and law and order and that sort of thing, and I will not be part of an organization that shields a pedophile for 4 months, 4 months. You know, roll the guy, get him out of there. You know, if you're the Prime Minister, start kicking ass because he's making your government look even worse than you are in your natural state. It would make you seem like a tough leader that was in control of your coalition partners. Just saying. Just muggins on a podcast for the bottom of the South Island. What do I know?
Just keep in mind, people have been sacked for less.
Mm-hmm.
Allegations alone. Sacked for less. All right, well, it's been a fun show. I hope that was a great end to your week. Chewie. I hope you've enjoyed
Next
yourself.
t-shirt.
What was it? PPPIP?
Poo poo. There we go.
PPIPPP.
Powerful people in politics protecting pedophiles. There's a hashtag. That'll take people a while to work out. It's good. All right, let's go. It's not ice time now.
It is. It's been
Work
a good
in
week
the
though.
morning.
Alrighty, let's go. Oh, almost there.
Help us settle it to be, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy.
Oh shit, that's a thing. Thank you, Ihaka.
Oh, thank you.
Rich have the hand out for rewards, while the many have to work out what they can afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention, or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts, vetting peas from the rice and the mice from the rats, and picking and choosing a warpath to run, linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe, with an A and a self and a higher in mind. All heavily, neither this way or that, and we'll be analyzed by what Chewie and Pat. With the evil in the world trying to mess with your head, and you're sitting on the couch, you're thinking chivalry's dead. Each night, 2 nights, they're gonna sing you to bed. It's Big Hairy News.
Thanks for watching, guys. Sorry about the super chats. We will see you, Magenta and I will see you tomorrow at 9 PM for our regular Friday show. And Papa Pat, or Papa Pat as he hates it, we'll be back here on Monday with Chewie. Any final
Have a good
words,
night,
Chewie?
chat. You're a good bunch of people. I like you. Keep that shit up.
Ditto. All right, catch you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Cheers, fam. super chat reminder. Good catch.